Alrighty, it is April 27th, Monday. How's it going, everybody? It's been a month since my last episode, and if you if you heard my last episode, I kind of left it on a pretty heated note. I was talking about the coronavirus, just my thoughts on it and everything I was feeling in that moment, and I left it pretty angry. But yeah, it's been about a month now, and obviously, just with the whole situation, there's so much changing day by day that I didn't know a good time to get back on here and share my thoughts, but I figure a month is long enough, and coming at you with a slightly different perspective. Yeah, so update. Last time I was on this podcast, I was still working. I was working through the shelter in place order, but not too long after that, uh, about 2 weeks ago, actually, to today, I was furloughed. So I've actually been stuck at home with everybody else for the past 2 weeks. And yeah, when the shelter in order first happened, where I was working, we didn't immediately follow the order. It's I don't know. They have their reasons or whatever for having us keep coming to work, and I don't feel like getting into that too much. But point of the matter was, I was still working and I was happy. But since I've been furloughed, it's taken all my gripes about this whole situation, and just now I'm experiencing them pretty much in first person. um, because in the last episode I had mentioned that the biggest issue with this whole coronavirus is not the virus itself, but it's more of the reaction to it, and that the economic downturn we're about to experience is going to be it's going to be so much worse than what this virus is or going to be or ever was. And I'm still sticking by that, but today I figured I'd come out to you with a slightly more positive vibe because I don't want to be that guy that I'm always just complaining about things, but at the same time, I want to speak on things that I feel like are important. And, this is one of those things. And sometimes, if all that I'm bringing up is that I feel is important, seems like bad news or complaining, well, I mean, there was something good happening in the world that someone wasn't talking about, then yeah, sure, I'd freaking be talking about that. But the reason I'm speaking up on this particular subject is because I feel like not enough people are speaking up on it. But I feel like that's starting to change. I'm seeing more and more people kind of step out of their own comfort zone and actually starting to question this whole shelter in place order, which is putting my mind at ease. Originally I felt like I was literally the only guy saying anything. I'd go on TV or online and just look up what people are saying about it, and it just seems like 99% of everybody was just okay with it. But a few weeks in, I think people have had time to like sit home and really ponder on what's going on. And I'm thinking finally people are starting to wake the fuck up and realize that, hey, maybe we overreacted a little bit. Maybe, just maybe, this whole shelter in place order was unnecessary. Um, I still believe it was. And, this whole experience of being furloughed, I've never been furloughed in my life. And honestly, I've never been, I'm 2 weeks furloughed now. And this is literally the longest I've gone without working since 2014 when I left the Air Force and I didn't have a job at all. So it's like the longest I'm gone without working for 2 weeks. I mean, for 6 years. I've never had this much time, these many consecutive days off in a row. It's weird, you know. And supposedly I'm supposed to be going back to work in a week, but that could change. That could change fucking later today. They could say, hey, you know what, another month, you know, it's all this uncertainty. It's just kind of like it's really easy to go into the fuck it mode, Like you just I don't care anymore. you know. I've been waiting for my stimulus check, and I've been talking to a lot of people. I know a lot of people that already got it, but I also know a lot of people that haven't gotten anything. And I went onto the IRS website and I tried looking it up to see how it worked. And I swear I don't know if it's just me or if it's the government doesn't like me. But whenever I got to deal with any kind of government agency, whether it's the DMV or the state, or I'm doing some with my taxes and IRS hits me up, and it never goes according to plan. It never runs smoothly. I've had, you know, I've been working and paying taxes since 2010, and I've had the IRS hit me up 3 or 4 times, and it wasn't the scams. It was like legit IRS letters in the letter saying that I've been audited. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like I know whenever I deal with a government agency, they're just different. They're not like corporations, and they're not like a customer service centric organization where like they'll work with you and your problem if you have an issue. No, it's the government, so they're just like, we don't give a fuck whose problem it is. It's your fault, so you got to fix it. But hey, we're not going to make it convenient either. We're going to give you a phone service that's going to point you to the website, and on the website, we're going to give you the phone number. And it's kind of like, all right, well, the only fucking option I have left is to go to the physical location, and that shit's like in DC or something. So it's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of having to apply for unemployment and just wait on the government to fucking help me out, because in my experience, they could give two shits. They really could, and it's mainly because the government exists not to make money. It exists because the government said it needs to exist, and the people working there don't give two fucks. All right. Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to throw everybody under the bus that works in these agencies and say they're all shit. But I'm saying the average government worker don't give a fuck as much about customer service as, like, a bank would. You go to a bank and you have money in that bank and you have an issue. They want you to stay there, so they're gonna, I want to say cater to you, but they give you some level of customer service to make you feel like, yeah, you're kind of worth something to us, so we're gonna, you're investing in us, so let's invest in you. You don't get that with government agencies. So it's like, for the past 2 weeks, I've been applying for unemployment. I've been trying to find out about this stimulus check, and literally up until yesterday, I wasn't getting a call back from any of them. The damn EDD website is the most glitchy thing I've been on in years. And that's understandable. Everybody and their fucking brother is applying for unemployment right now. So it's only makes sense that the site is not stable at all. But it's fucking ridiculous. I would literally try every fucking day for almost 2 weeks, and I could not log on for shit. Since I applied, even applying was a pain in the ass. And they asked for info that I didn't have on me. That like my pay and all that. Like I know what I make, and I just got my W-2. But the way they set it up is they don't just ask for your W-2. They fucking ask. This is another thing about government that just really pisses me off. It's almost like they design forms and they design things to make it fucking inconvenient for anybody to try to figure it out. It's almost like government forms and government processes are designed to be inconvenient on purpose because they don't want people fucking using them. Instead of just asking what I make per paycheck, they ask what I make per quarter. My W-2 doesn't break it down like that. My paycheck doesn't break it down like that. Literally, no one breaks down their pay by quarter except when you apply for unemployment. It's like the one scenario where you got to break your pay down by like that. And it's kind of like little things like that. It's just a lot of little things irritate me, people. And it's things that just don't make fucking sense. It's like, why does it have to be broken down like that? Yeah, I can whip out a calculator and figure it out. But it's like, why does it need to be like that? It doesn't need to be like that, because you don't pay me by the fucking quarter. You pay me every other week. So why don't you just ask what I get paid for every other week? It's like, it doesn't make fucking sense because you got to do the math on your end now about how much you got to pay me. So it's just like extra steps that don't need to be taken. That shit. That's the shit that irritates me. So it was like having to deal with that, having to deal with whether I'm going to get paid or not. My taxes is kind of weird this year. I moved since my last taxes, and people that, I don't know if I mentioned it in my previous episodes, but I'm freshly divorced. I got divorced last year. Um, like the process of the divorce started back in like end of 2017, beginning of 2018, but I wasn't fully confirmed, completely divorced until last year. And that year, because we were filing for 2018, even though I wasn't living with my ex, we were still technically married, so we filed together. So my 2018 taxes is uh, married jointly. I filed jointly with that, and it was at a different address compared to my 2019 taxes, where it's at a new address and I'm single. So it's kind of like, my ex never hits me up, but she's hitting me up like, hey, I haven't got my stimulus check. We filed for taxes together last year. Are they sending it to you? So now she's bugging me because she's trying to get her money too. So it's kind of like we're both kind of fucked in that scenario because I filed for taxes right before all this happened, right before the shelter in place order went in. I filed for taxes, but I owe money this year because it's my first year filing single in forever, and I didn't anticipate how much more taxes I'd have to pay. So I owe money this year. So I didn't give them a deposit. I mean, I didn't give them my bank info for a refund. So if they go off my 2019 return, where are they going to send the money to? Because I didn't give them no bank info. Yeah, I got the same bank, but as my 2018 return, but like it's this whole thing of like what return are they going to use? What address are they going to use? If they don't know, are they going to mail it to my old address? Because how the fuck am I going to get the check at that point? Like, my mail still gets forwarded, but that just means it's going to get here fucking weeks late. It's like all this shit, all this, it's getting ridiculous. It's like I don't know where my money's coming from. My rent, like I don't know the legality of this because it's still kind of like we're only like a month or a month and a half into this shit. But like rent and all that, yeah, my fucking I live in an apartment complex right now, and like when the shelter in place order first hit, they put fucking little pieces of paper on everybody's door, trying to make us feel better. Like, hey, we're here for all our residents here. We want to make sure you guys are all taken care of. Here's a list of resources, which is just like the fucking URLs for all the government agencies, which we already you Google. It's not like they needed to tell us that. But the whole point of that paper wasn't to make all the residents feel good. At the very bottom, it says, despite everything going on, residents are still expected to pay rent on time in full. No exceptions. It was like, okay, cool. You're just letting us know that you don't give a fuck what situation we're in financially. You just want your money. So, oh, okay, I get it. You know, and then, man, and I know people that just bought houses recently, and they're all stressed out. They don't know how they're gonna keep paying mortgage. It's like I think people are starting to feel the economic squeeze, and people have enough time in their homes thinking, I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those guys that have not been spending their time wisely. I was so angry and so whatever and so fed up that I just said, fuck it. Like, you guys are gonna force me to stay home for several weeks. And I don't know if I'm gonna get paid. And I can't go anywhere. I can't even go to the gym. Like, you're locking down all the parks. I literally can't do shit. Fuck it. I'm gonna play video games and get high every day. That's that's literally all I've been doing these past 2 weeks. And I'm at 2 weeks into that shit, and it's like, all right, now this is already boring. I feel super unproductive. I feel sluggish. I've been going out for a run every morning, but it's not the same as going to the gym. It's just a different environment. When I was, at least the gym I went to, people were nice. People were cool. I'd run into people I knew. You talk about where it was the energy when you walked in there. Everybody there is there to improve themselves. So you kind of like ride off that, and, it kind of helped me push through workouts. But now the only spot I can really get any workout in is either in my apartment, which is I live on the second floor, so me jumping up and down, it's like I'm pissing off all my neighbors. So I'll go outside. And I go on this one like walking trail I have in town. It's literally the only like one thing to have a shutdown. They were kind of cracking down on people, but it seems like the city's kind of relaxed on who can go in and out of that trail, which is nice. Um, but it's like everybody and their brothers on that trail, and there's no, it's I don't know, just a lot of people in the way walking, and it just like I'm being kind of greedy. When I used to go on that trail, no one was there, so I could sprint, I can run. Fuck, if I had to pee real quick, I'd just pull over real quick and, do my business. I'm sorry, ladies. I know that's gross to you, whatever, but guys, you get it. If you gotta pee, we have this amazing appendage to make it convenient. There's no one looking and I gotta take a piss. I could just do that real quick, right? There's plenty of trees, dogs shit on the ground, so my piss that's gonna get soaked into the dirt ain't. I don't feel like that's that big issue, right? Um, but regardless, so many people on the trail now I can't even do that. So it's like I gotta make sure I go before I go running. And usually, if I'm on that trail, I'm running for like an hour. Anybody that does long distance running knows that, hey, sometimes no matter how hard you try, you're gonna have to go as you run. Can you think about it? You're moving around and liquid sloshing around in your body. It's like it's gonna want to come out after you do that. So I don't know. I'm being kind of picky, but if there's one positive thing I can get out of this whole experience is that I'm starting to notice that, yeah, there's more people outside. And maybe just because all the gyms are empty and everybody I'm seeing outside were people that would have been in a gym. But I'm seeing people that, no offense, looks like they've never been in a gym in their life. But I am seeing them outside running. I am seeing them outside walking every day. I'm seeing them on bikes. I'm seeing people get out more. All right. So it's kind of like this whole shelter in place coronavirus mess. There's one silver lining in it. It's that people are becoming more conscious of their own health. You know, with everything, with, everybody freaking out with this virus, which I never sweat it. I've said that on multiple episodes that I'm not afraid of the virus. I'm a pretty healthy guy. And even if I caught it, I am extremely confident that I would shake it off. And even if I did have to suffer through the symptoms, I'd be okay. I would live. Um, but I also, mentioned that there's a lot of people that aren't that confident. A lot of people that have been slacking in that department in their life. Like they haven't been working out, they haven't been eating right, they haven't been taking them care of themselves physically. And now they've been thrown in this situation where your health is everything. We're in a situation where people are afraid to go to hospitals because they don't want to get sick. The whole point of a hospital is you go there when you're injured or you're hurt or you're sick, and the hospital, the whole point of that is supposed to help you out. But now that people are in a situation where people are too scared to even go to the hospital for things. So now I think it's kind of triggering this kind of like thing in the back of people's heads like, wow, like if I don't take care of myself, I don't have that little backup ER cushion I used to have where if something really shit happened to me, I could just go to the hospital. Nah, they're either gonna be too busy or they're not gonna want to see you. They're gonna push you away because they're only taking coronavirus victims. Which, by the way, I should just say, I've had to take a relative to the hospital on a couple occasions during this whole thing, and they are not fucking swarmed. At least the hospitals in my fucking area. They are not swarmed any more than they normally are. If anything, they're more empty than normal. And people will chop it up at all. That's the shelter in place procedures, that's them doing their work. But the whole point of the shelter in place was to keep the hospitals from being overrun. They're actually more empty now than they've ever been. So it's kind of like, is a shelter in place even necessary at this point? I think governments and corporations and people with a lot of money and people that like shut down their factories or people that close their governments down, those people don't want to pull the trigger and pull the fucking, they don't want to stop the shelter in place order too quick because I feel like they don't want to be the person to do it and get all the backlash from all the people that are still scared. Oh my God, they're already sending their people back to work. Oh my God, they already lifted the shelter in place order. Well, we haven't got the curve flattened out yet, you know? Yeah, there's always those people that want to put their 2 cents in and they don't even have all the information to do it. But regardless of whatever the fuck people say, it's the people that issued this shelter in place order, like the governors of all these states, um, all these world leaders around the world. They all did it, in my opinion, not because the science said it was the fear was already great within their populations. Regardless of what everybody said, they made a decision to do the shelter in place order because they feel this is just my interpretation, all right? I don't know if this is accurate, but this is just how I've interpreted the events unfolding around us is that all these world leaders did it out of public pressure, not because they felt it was the right thing to do. They felt like, well, I need to do this because if I don't, I don't know if I'm gonna get reelected next cycle because people are gonna be upset that I didn't pull the trigger quick enough. All right. The fear was already great. The fear was already big by the time all these orders got issued. It was like they caved. They all fucking caved. No one waited it out. No one tried to see if this was really as bad as it was. No one let the researchers do their job and come out and be like, hey, you know what? I don't think it really is that bad. The media got it, ran with it, turned this little seed of fear to a full blown fucking weed infestation. And now all the world leaders are reacting to it. They, I feel like this shelter in place, it's like everybody's too nervous to be the first one to do it because they don't want to face the backlash of being the first one to lift the order because whoever's the first one to do it, they're going to be the ones that people are going to attack when like cases start going back up or whatever, or the hospitals actually start to get overrun. They're like, "Oh my God, you lifted it too early, you heartless bastards! You put all these poor people in harm's way." You know how it gets twisted. This whole scenario, it's almost like the perfect storm. It's like it's hard to be rebellious with this because it's like there's people's lives. Well, I mean, it's not that people's. I mean, yeah, there are people's lives at stake, but it's not in the way that people think. All right, people think that I would say the general public right now, at least here in America, they're kind of interpreting anybody that goes outside as being inconsiderate and not caring about their fellow human beings. Wow, that person went outside. They must not give a fuck about spreading the virus. They don't care if they kill someone with the virus, even if they're fine. They're being irresponsible and they're just being heartless people. Now, of course, am one of the people in the camp that is just like, no, I completely disagree with that assumption and that interpretation because honestly, this is just my 2 cents. If we could go back in time and we could redo this shelter in place, let's say like the coronavirus, right before all these shelter in place orders got put in place, um, and the cases were going up and people were talking about it, people were freaking out. What I feel like would have been, I still wouldn't have ordered anything because I feel like whenever government gets involved, they always make a disaster worse. But if I had to find a compromise, it would be okay, you know what? Public, you're afraid that there's a virus out there that's going to kill everybody and people walking around is going to make it spread more. Okay, we got to find a compromise here. How do I calm down the public, but at the same time make a decision that doesn't fuck up the economy by telling everybody to stop going to work? All right, how do you find a compromise between that? Well, early on, when people were still finding out a lot about this virus, it was already known that older people were the ones that were suffering from it, all right? The most, and even till now it's still majority of older people being affected by it. And when you look into it, it's not because they're older, it's because older people more likely already have pre-existing conditions. And that's the actual kicker. It's not because people are old, because you can have really healthy old people if they took care of themselves their whole life. They wouldn't be affected by this any more than I would. But it's just that we live in a society where the majority of people in America, majority of them are not as healthy as they should be. We have a society that most of our food, most of it is not healthy for you to begin with. It's cheap, it's efficient, you can make a lot of it, but it's not exactly good for your health in the long term. All this fast food, all this snacks, all this packaged crap, all of that, like there's so much wrong with our food that it's a whole other conversation that it plays a big impact on what's going on right now. People are not prepared. They see, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but back to the point of what I would do to compromise, I would be like, all right, everybody that knows they have pre-existing conditions and that can prove it to their employer, you guys, all right, you guys qualify for unemployment. All right. But everybody else, if you don't have pre-existing conditions and you're a healthy individual, go to work. Go to work. Because you got to think about who would be out and about during this thing anyways. One argument I keep hearing is, okay, yeah, you're healthy. Yeah, you're fine. But you come across anybody, you could have the virus, not know it, and then come across someone that is susceptible to it and give it to them without realizing it. And my rebuttal to that is, okay, well, if I'm aware that there's a virus going around and that people that are vulnerable to it shouldn't be out and about, how would I come across them to begin with? Older people, yeah, older people that have pre-existing conditions, y'all need to stay home. You got diabetes, you just got a cancer, you're on chemo, stay the fuck home, all right? But then you get into, all right, well, I live with older people. I go to work and, I don't want to go to work, catch it, come home and give it to these people that were being quarantined. Okay, well, that's another thing. All right, not everybody lives with someone with pre-existing conditions. Okay, that's another exception. All right, you take care of your parents, and they're in their 60s, but you go to work and you're healthy. Okay, go to work. But when you come home, if you're the ones taking care of them, all right, then maybe you also qualify for this EDD and unemployment benefits, all right? Because, you got to take in consideration not just people that are vulnerable, but the people that take care of them. Not everybody that's got pre-existing conditions needs a caretaker, but for the older folks, people like in the 70s, 80s that really can't take care of themselves at all, that got 2, 3 diseases, and you have a younger, healthier caretaker, then yeah, those people also should be able to apply for unemployment because you're taking care of their elderly. Totally understandable. And this is where that's where I draw the line. That is, okay, people that are already sick, people that take care of the sick, y'all can stay home. Everybody else go to work. All right. And honestly, if you do the numbers, there'd still be a lot of people applying for unemployment, but it wouldn't be the numbers we're seeing now. Not like the fucking like millions and millions and millions of people applying for unemployment. Maybe like a million extra people apply for unemployment. All right, in the state of California. I'm just using California as an example. All right, I don't know the numbers statewide at the moment, but right now I know when I applied for unemployment about 2 weeks ago, there were 17 million people already applying for it. I don't know what the number is now. I don't know if it went up or down. It probably went up. Um, but yeah, it's 17 million people. That's the half the state. Have you ever seen half of the population of economy apply for unemployment? It's fucking ridiculous. All right. And, the whole thing where like people don't want it spreading and all these shelter in place orders are meant to help stem the spread of it. Why do we trying to stop its spread? Why is no one stop? Why are we trying to stop it from spreading? Shouldn't we try to get as many people infected with it as possible? Why would I say that? Because that's what herd immunity is. Anyone that studied how viruses spread, viruses that are highly contagious are not also highly lethal. It's usually one or the other. It's just really lethal or it's really contagious. And usually, when a new virus is introduced into a population, not just humans, but even animals and fish and shit like that, when a new highly contagious virus is introduced into a group, the faster it gets spread around, guess what? The faster the herd, population, whatever, the faster they build immunity to it. So having everyone stay home to curb the spread, it is literally the worst thing you do for trying to build immunity to it. It'd be quicker to let everyone go out, catch this virus, and over the course of like 6, 7 months, and the whole population's infected. By the way, only 90% of them roughly show zero symptoms, and the 10% that do show symptoms, almost all of them have pre-existing conditions. So it's kind of like, if you have pre-existing conditions, if you're vulnerable, all right? So you're the ones that need to look out for yourselves, and people that love you and take care of you need to be thrown in that group too. But everybody fucking else that's healthy, doesn't have pre-existing conditions, them being told to stay home to save the other people is fucking bullshit. Because the worst this virus does to people that are healthy and take care of themselves is, you caught the flu. It's like a normal sickness. Take a sick day, tough it out, you go back to work. It's nothing. It's a mundane type of event. Oh, I got a little sick. Now I'm gonna go home. It's not a life-changing event. A life-changing event is when you're told you can't go to work anymore and that you can't pay for your own bills and that you got to ask the government for money. And, I'm pretty prideful. I've never had to apply. I mean, I applied for unemployment once when I first got out of the Air Force, and I didn't want to, but it wasn't really my decision. I was married at the time, so I was kind of forced to apply for it. But I was happy that I never got paid because when I applied for it, it was in 2014. I think that's when the government furloughs were happening. I don't remember, but I remember furloughs were happening in and around that time for the government. And when I applied, I got a notice saying that there were no funds for veterans to get unemployment. And I was pretty pissed. It was kind of like, wow, I go serve my country, leave, come back, and then the government's saying, oh, sorry, I don't got no money for you. We know that the transition from military active duty civilian life is tough, but we're not going to help you out at all. So, it was, yeah, I was kind of pissed, but I ended up getting a good job right after that. So I never really, never let that hang over my head. I kind of took it as a sign that I didn't want that money to begin with, and I never had to take it. I never taken a handout. Now I'm being forced to stay home and take this handout from the government and then say, thank you, government. Thank you for this money that ultimately isn't even yours. Technically, the way it's supposed to work, all the government money is supposed to be from taxes. And all taxes is from the people, which means it's not the fucking government's money. It's the people's money that the government's throwing around. No one looks at it like that. No one looks at all the money that the government spends or whatever the fuck it wants to spend it on as their money. Because guess what? If you're a citizen in the United States, all that money doesn't belong to the government. It's belonging to the people. It's just the government is got put in charge of what to do with it. So it's kind of like when people are like, well, the government's going to take care of us. Oh, the government's going to pay us. What, with their own fucking money? It's like, oh my God. See, I'm already gonna hit it. Like I haven't talked about this, and there's a reason why I've been kind of blowing off and not doing this podcast is just because, you know, the more and more I think about the situation we're in, the more it becomes obvious that, you know, we almost kind of deserve this. If we were in a society that was wise to this, these the government doing this to us, we were in a society that is just waiting for the government handout. And I think I said that in the last episode, but yeah, our society is just waiting for them checks, all right? Hey, that free money. Yeah, print some more of that for me. It's that instant gratification, you know. We all we don't nobody wants to work for shit anymore. They just want it handed to them. And I know that's not true for every American, but I'm saying like society is not prepping people for the long term. No one's told to save money anymore and to work hard and build your empire brick by brick. It's kind of like all these quick get rich quick schemes. It's all these overnight celebrities. It's like we live in a society where people want the shit now. They want it quick and they want it convenient. Oh, I don't have to work to get paid. You're just going to give it to me. Oh, that sounds awesome. I get to stay home and watch all this Netflix. I'm not like that, and I know there's a lot of people that aren't. I want to feel useful. I want to feel like I have a purpose, and just staying home and getting paid not to do anything. I don't know. It sounds like, oh, wow, boo hoo, you could be getting paid nothing. I'm not upset that I'm being told to stay home, but I'm getting paid for it. I'm upset that I'm being told to be stay at home. All right. Fuck giving me free money. Let me go to work. All right. If it's an issue of public health, I'm making decision. It's my health. I get to make that decision, not you, not the government. All right. That's where this is stemming from, is that the government's making these choices for us like it's our fucking mom and dad, and that all the civilians are all a bunch of little fucking kids. All right. Who has the ultimate say so in your well being? Should be no one but yourself. All right. Shouldn't be some agency, shouldn't be some political leader, shouldn't be, you know, these people in these positions of power making these calls. All right. And then they make these calls so carelessly and so quickly. It's like, oh man, it's so counterproductive. And oh man, I can't even put the words in the form right now. I just get very frustrated talking about this, and it's you know I'd say I'd be more optimistic, but I'm sorry, I'm already going down that road. Um, maybe just because like I walk around, I try to be optimistic, and my whole life I've always kind of taken that. Yeah, it's gonna be all right. Yeah, it'll be all right, and I'm sure that in like a few months, a year, no matter what happens, whether it's a Great Depression or whatever, a World War III, whatever the fuck happens, I have a deep feeling that I am going to be okay, and that people close to me are going to be okay. I truly feel that. But I'm more upset that I don't feel like that's going to be true for everybody. I feel like, we already live in a world where like there's winners, there's losers, there's poor, there's rich. I feel like everything going on right now with this election that everybody stopped talking about, with this whole shelter in place nonsense, all this shit going on in the world, the next few years are going to change the entire planet. And I'm not exaggerating. I don't, I feel like that's an understatement. I really feel like most people do not see what's going to happen. I can't tell you specifically what's going to happen, but I can tell you that our governments are no longer going to function the way they do now. Things are going to change. They're going to get worse or they get better, but I have a feeling they're probably going to get worse before they get better. And what I mean by that is government's going to start feeling kind of brave and be like, all right, well, we issued that shelter in place order and everybody listened. All right, cool. Next time we have some kind of emergency, we have some fucking other invisible bug or invisible enemy we got to deal with, the government's going to feel, because they already have a precedence for it, they feel it will be their job to step in and save all of us from it and make another stupid decision that makes the situation worse. You know, good example is come this winter when all the shelter in place orders are removed and people are going back to work and the economy's trying to pick up where it left off. When winter hits again, and the fact that our populations did not build up herd immunity this season, the next season when it comes back, just because there's a seasonal flu for a reason, it's worse during one season, but it doesn't go away completely. It comes back the next season. If not enough people got sick from it, build up immunity, it's going to be worse the next season. So you got to think right now, this is just the first wave. And instead of just letting that burn through the population and burn itself out and people start building immunity to this thing, we've pretty much kind of had like a pillow landing for this guy. It's nice and squishy. So next freaking season, when the flu and all the sicknesses start coming back again, this one's going to be even stronger, because guess what? Everybody Not enough people got infected. You know, this whole flattening the curve is the most idiotic fucking thing. And it was even more idiotic that so many doctors agreed with it. That's why I don't go to the doctor, people. You know, and every time I say shit like that, I have people, I've had people that have gone to nursing school and people that have studied, you know, biology in college and shit like that. When I talk about this, they're so dismissive of it. They're like, well, you know what? You didn't go to school. You don't know everything. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. And I don't know everything. But, you know, I don't need to know everything to point everything I pointed out, though. Herd immunity. You did not teach it in school. Yes. All right. What did you learn from it? That, you know, when a population gets it, then it burns out. All right, cool. Why is this any fucking different? It's the thing I notice with doctors or any profession that is supposed to be the expert in that field, but then they go against their own advice and teachings, is that they allow too many exceptions. Oh, you know, and like this is an example, like the whole herd immunity thing. A doctor might justify it in a herd of deer. It's like, oh yeah, you want the deer to you know, catch all that virus, and this whole herd of deer, oh, they're gonna be stronger next season. Oh, but we're gonna make exceptions for people because we have so many people that have pre-existing conditions. We're gonna lose too many people this round, and it's not worth it. Okay, then the question becomes not a medical one; it becomes an ethical one. All right, do we let the older people die so that the younger people can carry on living? Or do we tell everybody of all ages to stop what they're fucking doing, to save as many of these old sick people as we can, but then we'll fuck over everybody, regardless of your fucking age, down the road when all of the economies crash and we have a huge recession because, you know, we stopped producing for 2 months. It's like it's no longer a medical question at that point. The medical science behind it is there. It's that we're overreacting. But it becomes more of an ethical question of, all right, what's it worth? All right, are all the people that are on their last dying breath worth saving for their future? Or should we save all of them now so they can live their last couple years in peace? And the next 3 or 4 years, when the economy's all shit, all the people that are still alive, we all got to deal with it. That sounds kind of fucked up, but please believe I have older relatives. I have a grandma who's got diabetes, who's had cancer, who's had surgeries to remove organs. It's like she's literally the poster child for pre-existing conditions. She got arthritis, you know, and she just and like my grandfather just passed away this past year, so she's a widow. So it's kind of like her motivation to stay on this earth is low. You know, her husband just passed, all her kids are growing up, all her grandkids have kids. She's a great grandmother. It's kind of like I feel like my grandmother's motivation to stick around on this planet isn't as high as it used to be. All right. Yeah, of course she loves her family. Of course she wants to see all of us grow up, but it's kind of like she knows we're going to be okay. And if she were to stop and think like, do I want to stay alive 5 more years or a couple more years or whatever and fuck over all my great grandkids who will never be able to live in a society that was rich? Because who knows, maybe this is the beginning of the end of the American empire, that America is going to be the next Argentina and we're fucked, and like inflation's like 1,000,000% or some shit, and and America just on a downward turn from there. Like, if you presented all the elderly people in the world this option, look, you want to live a few more years, or would you rather get sick with the possibility of dying, but knowing that you're not going to fuck over your grandkids? How many do you think would be like, I want to live a couple more years? Of course, it's going to be people that feel like that. But if the option was old people, yourselves or your grandkids, what are you going to pick? You know, all the old people, especially one of the grandkids, are going to be like, my grandchildren. They're more important than me. They are the future. I've lived my life. I want them to have, I want to set them up for the best possible future I can. Sole shelter in place order, shutting down the economy is literally the opposite of that. It's literally fucking over the future. It is. It's taking a problem we have now, and instead of dealing with it and pushing ourselves through it, it's pushing the problem back for other groups of people to handle later. Every time a new freaking president is elected in this country, they take on the problems of the last agency. Trump, when he came into office, he took on all the problems that Obama had when he left. When Obama went into office, he took on all the problems that Bush had when he left. So it's kind of like when all these politicians make these decisions to either shut down governments or buy more armies or whatever decisions they make, they have repercussions for the administrations after them. And it's no different with what happens with people today. When all these decisions we're making to save all these sick elderly people, it's going to affect all the young, healthy people down the road. So even if you are healthy, even if you did catch this virus and survive, even if you never get infected with the virus at all, you're going to be infected by the decisions of all these political leaders. You're going to be affected whether you're healthy or not. And that is the core of the problem I have with this shelter in place. It's that it's taking a problem that only affect a percentage of the population and creating a problem that's going to affect fucking everybody for years to come. Not just this season and not just the next couple of seasons, but for years to come. Here's a quick little tidbit that a lot of people don't know. If you understand how GDP works, I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but I'm going to say it again right now to drive home a point. GDP is kind of like the mark of like how good economy's doing. If the GDP is positive, like the economy grew a certain percentage, that you got a healthy economy. 1 or 2% is kind of like, man, it's kind of okay. It's better than going backwards. But like, 10% GDP means that your economy grew by 10% that year. It's great. That means you're in an economic growth. Now, the thing with America is we've only been doing 2% GDP growth the past few years. Like we're kind of stagnant. Yeah, the economy's growing by 2% year over year. But in terms of where we want to be, that's kind of on the low side. Now, some people did the math, some math experts or economic experts, whatever the fuck you want to call them. They need some fancy math, right? And they tried calculating how much GDP we're going to be losing by not going to work, by having everybody stay home and no one go to work. And I calculated that shutting the economy down for 2 months is equivalent, no, shutting the economy down for 1 month is equivalent to 6% GDP, meaning whatever your GDP would have been at the end of the year, let's say America's has been about 2%, you lose 6% by not going to work for a month. So let's say a shelter in place order for the whole country only lasted a month. By the end of the year, instead of that 2% we're supposed to see, we're actually at negative 4%. And whenever you're in a negative, that's technically a recession. Now, let's do that same math, but let's do it 2 months, because in a lot of spots in America, they're coming close to 2 months now that they've been doing this. That's actually 12% GDP loss, which means you'd be at negative 10% GDP, which means your economy shrunk by 10 fucking percent. That's a depression, people. That's worse than a recession. That's just depression. 2 months of not working, our economy shrunk. That's just our economy. That's not even taking into consideration the world economy as a whole. Do you think we're in debt to China? Everybody's going to be in debt to everybody by the end of this year. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I'm just at that point where it's kind of like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm not sure where to put all this angry energy. And right now, I'm doing my part. I'm trying to speak up in any way I can. I'm not like a celebrity where I go on Instagram and boom, a million people heard what I had to say. Right now, I'm just a normal guy. And the only people hearing what I have to say are people that know me and whoever's fucking listening to this podcast, which is, by this counts, only a handful of you guys. but, but, I don't feel that's an excuse to not say anything at all. And that I'd rather only have a few people listen to me than no one at all. And, you know, this rant is part therapy for me, but part me feeling like I'm doing my part by expressing all the concerns I have with this. Because when these aren't expressed at all, when shit hits the fan down the road and people are asking themselves, how did we get this point? Is gonna be like, look, These are all the decisions that led to this clusterfuck. Okay. And they were pointed out by a lot of people along the way, and a lot of people chose to ignore them. I want to be on the right side of history. I want to be one of the people that said, look, I spoke up against it. I wasn't for it. I saw the issues with it, and best believe, I hope I'm wrong, people. I pray that I'm wrong and it all works out in the end. But I also don't want to be that naive person to assume it's going to be okay and just ignore everything until shit hits the fan. I'm trying to get more people aware of it as I can. That when shit does hit the fan, we're not all surprised. It's like, it'd be more obvious. It'd be more obvious, and maybe it'd help people make decisions about what to do next. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it. I just know shutting up isn't an option for me right now. So I don't know. We'll see how. I don't know. This is kind of a long episode. I think I'm going to end it here. But I think in reality, what I want to do is find a way to hit up more people about this. I got a YouTube channel already mentioned, but like I said, I've been very unproductive these past couple of weeks since I've been furloughed, and I haven't done much of anything. So I kind of just want to get out of this, stuckness I've been feeling these past couple of weeks, and going out there and talking to people more. Yesterday, freaking, I've been trying to eat at home a lot, but I feel like the least I can do is keep some of these small town restaurants in business. So I'm going out to eat a lot. Honestly, that's more laziness than me trying to help out the economy, but that's my excuse, is I'm trying to keep these small businesses, in business. Because one thing that people are not talking about is, yeah, Walmart will survive this fucking economic downturn, but all the fucking mom and pop restaurants, barbershops, everyone that owns their own business and is a small business owner, they're all fucked. And in the next few years, you're going to see the biggest decline in small business ownership. And really, they're the real casualty of all this. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, or if it was a very unfortunate side effect of this whole thing. But small businesses are going to be very rare in the next few years, because it's going to be very tight, and it's going to be extremely more difficult than it's already been to start a small business. So, you know, I don't know. I just want to put that out there, just because, I feel like a lot of people are going to act all surprised when it starts happening. But I'm just going to end it there, because I'm starting to ramble and lose my train of thought. But I'm definitely going to be putting more content out in the next few days, just because I feel like it's time to. And, I just want to reach more people. So I don't know. That's all I have to say right now. I'm going to try to gather my thoughts and come back with some a little more productive next episode. But hope everyone's staying safe. I hope everyone's staying sane, you know, and I hope y'all are doing well. Okay. All right, bye.